I'll take it.
Okay. And this happened, this discussion with Mr. Preston happened somewhere around March of 2008. Is that fair?
That's what
Did Mr. Preston promise you a job at any point in time?
During that conversation, he said that he would be glad to hire me into the county.
Did you take that as a promise from Mr. Preston that you would be employed by the county at some point in the future?
Yes.
So, was it your understanding then that when you had this initial conversation with Mr. Preston in around March of 2008 that you were being considered by him to take over for Mr. Freeman as assessor sometime within the next 5 years?
My understanding at the time.
Ultimately, you did take 7 courses that relate to being an appraiser in South Carolina. Is that fair?
Yes, I did take it, yes.
And the county paid for those courses, correct?
Yes.
How did those courses help you in your job as the county council chairperson?
None.
None whatsoever.
None.
Did they help?
It was in preparation to be a county employee in the assessor's office.
Okay, and that's, I thought I asked this already, and I apologize, but I thought you said that you do not understand there to be any connection necessarily between those appraiser courses and service as an assessor, other than what Mr. Preston told you. Is that fair?
Yeah. Basically, the assessor is a manager, so he would manage an office. But okay, well, he would probably have to have knowledge of real estate, but I would already have that. And he would have to have knowledge of the of how to appraise a piece of property. But as a real estate agent, I already knew how to take comps and put a value in a piece of property. But appraisers do it a little bit differently. So if I can recant my previous.
So it's sort of foundational knowledge that might help.
Yeah, I would agree with a foundational knowledge.
But in terms of your service as a county council person or as county council chair, you agree that those appraiser courses did nothing to assist you in your job in that regard?
Yes, I would agree to that.
At the time, in around March of 2008, you discussed with Mr. Preston your potential employment with Anderson County. How is your real estate business doing?
It was okay.
Were you weren't making as much money as you had made at Bosch at that point, were you?
Oh, good.
And nothing, you didn't ultimately start taking these appraisal courses till sometime later in 2008.
That's correct.
In the meantime, your initial thought in early 2008 was that you were going to come off the county council. You were not going to run for re-election. Is that
correct?
Did you have any kind of conversation with Mr. Preston about your decision not to run for re-election?
In March, when I told him I was coming off of council, or was thinking of coming off of council, asking him if he would consider me as a new hire, he said yes. He said he would be glad to take me, or hire me, I should say.
And at some point, you decided to run for re-election. Is that fair? In 2008?
Yes, I did.
How did that change of heart come about? Because initially you were wanting to come off,
yes.
And then you changed your mind.
Mr. Preston just asked me if I would consider running one more time.
And based on his interest in you running again, you agreed to run again?
Yes.
At some point, would you agree that you asked Mr. Preston for assistance in raising funds for your re-election campaign?
Yes.
Okay, let me show you what's marked as exhibit number 5. Does that appear to be an email, or let me ask it this way. Once you're done looking at it, is that an email that you wrote to Mr. Preston on May 22nd, 2008?
Yes, it is.
Does it appear to be a request for help from him in raising funds for your re-election?
Yes, it is.
Did he help you?
Yes, he did.
What did he do to help you raise funds?
He raised funds.
Do you recall anything particular that he was able to do for you that you couldn't do yourself in raising funds?
He knows people that I don't know, has contacts that I don't have, and he was able to raise funds.
Okay. And did you see the results of that effort by Mr. Preston in funds that you actually raised?
Yes, I received funds.
What I'm trying to figure out is, just sitting here right now, do you remember in particular anybody who gave money to your campaign in 2008 that you believe gave money because of their connection with Mr. Preston?
No, sir. I can't say off the top of my head.
Did you have any connection with Marshall Carruthers?
I know Marshall.
How do you know him?
Through my work on the county council.
Okay. Did you know him before you got on the council?
No.
You agree, though, that Mr. Preston did help you in finding donors for your campaign in 2008, correct?
Yes.
In or about March of 2008, I think you said in or about March of 2008, you talked to Mr. Preston about the possibility of not running for re-election, correct?
Yes.
And you also talked to him about the possibility of coming to work for the county, is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Preston urged you to run for re-election, among other things.
Yes.
And at some point, according to exhibit number 5, you asked Mr. Preston for help raising funds, correct?
Yes.
Can you say with any certainty one way or another whether any of these donors gave you money because Preston spoke with them or not?
No, I sent out letters, fundraising letters, I would say, to all these people. I know all of them, most of them, because of my work on the council. So I cannot say it was because of Joey one way or the other. Because this is 2008, I had already served on the council for 3 years, and I already know these people. So I can't say that it was because of Joey that these people gave.
And in the spring of 2008, you did ask Mr. Preston for help raising funds, correct?
Yeah, just for the record, he chewed my butt out over that letter. He said, don't send that stuff on county email. It was some kind of violation or something. So I never did it again. Well, he didn't chew me out. He just scolded me.
Right.
Okay. I think that's a better way of saying it.
By March of 2008, you had already indicated an interest in working for the county, is that right?
March 2000. Yes, sir.
And the newspaper asked you in June of 2008 if you had an interest in a county job, and you lied to them, correct?
Yes, I did.
Why did you lie to the newspaper about your interest in a county job in June of 2008?
It's a personnel issue, and you don't discuss personnel issues to the public.
In August, and you may not remember this, and I can show you a document if you don't, but in about August of 2008, we have some indication that you asked Mr. Preston again about taking those appraisal requests. Does that sound like about the right time frame?
Yes, there was a advertisement there was an advertisement in the Independent Mail about an assistant purchasing manager's position. And then I looked on the county website, and that same posting was on the county website. And I applied for that position and copied Joey. Okay.
As you mentioned, I'm going to hand you what's marked as exhibit number 7. See if you can just identify what that is.
Yeah, this is the assistant purchasing manager job advertisement. Yes, sir.
And this is something that you applied for, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when you applied for it, you agree you copied Mr. Preston.
Yes, yes.
Why did you copy Mr. Preston?
He wants to know all our actions when we interact with the staff, the county employees.
Let me show you what's marked.
Okay.
Okay, would you agree with me that exhibit number 8 is an email between Joey Preston and you and Kathy Fulbright, dated August 14, 2008?
You said exhibit 8?
Yes, this should be.
No, it's from me.
It's actually 2 emails.
Yes, it's 2 emails. It's 2 emails to Kathy from me, copying Joey, and to me, Kathy. Okay, so it's 2 emails.
Okay, and one of them is from you to Joey, or from you to Kathy Fulbright with a copy to Joey, like you said.
From me, yes, from me to Kathy, copying Joey.
And the second one on the very top is from Joey Preston to you and Kathy Fulbright.
Yes, yes.
And the one from Joey Preston tells Kathy that this is to remain confidential.
Yes.
Why did it have to be confidential that you were applying for this job?
I have no knowledge, unless it has to do with personnel issues.
Did you ever talk with Mr. Preston about whether or not your interest in county employment should remain confidential?
No.
Did you believe it should remain confidential, that you were
Yes.
looking for a job?
It's personnel issues. Don't disclose personnel issues to the public.
What happened with this particular job, this assistant purchasing manager position? I take it you did not get that job.
Joey and I had a conversation. He said he had some people to promote, okay, and whoever he was promoting was getting this job. But that was going to create a vacancy, in purchasing, but lower down. And he recommended that I apply for it was a buyer's position.
So let me make sure I understand you then. It sounds like Mr. Preston talked to you about the fact that because of this assistant purchasing manager position and a promotion that might happen within purchasing, that a different job as a buyer might open up sometime in the future.
Yeah, you promote one person up and where that person's leaving from is vacant.
Did you talk to Mr. Preston about whether or not you might be hired into the position that was about to become vacant?
Yes. I just needed a job.
Okay. Did you express an interest in that job?
Yes,
to Mr.
I did.
Preston?
I applied for that job too.
Do you remember when that job came open? Roughly?
No.
It wasn't in August of 2008 though, was it?
It would have been, no, I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember.
But when you applied for this job, the one that you did not get,
Assistant purchasing, okay.
in August of 2008, did you have any understanding from Mr. Preston that you would get a subsequent job as a buyer in the purchasing department?
Yes, it was my understanding that I was going to have a position in purchasing.
And that's based on what Mr. Preston told you.
Yes.
And at that point, you needed a job, didn't you?
I remember. Can we back up?
Oh, yeah, sure.
There was an ad, I don't know the date. I can't remember the date. But there was a buyer's position advertised, I'm thinking on the county website. Okay. And I copied Joey again, okay? And I also spoke with Joey in person about this. He told me, he instructed Robert Carroll, who is the director of something or something, under which purchasing falls, okay? To give him the three most qualified applicants that apply for this purchasing buyer's job. I was the number 1 pick because I was the only one that had purchasing experience 9 years, by the way, and I have an MBA. So if you just go by qualifications alone, you know, I beat everybody out. So I was assured just from that conversation that I was going to have at least a buyer's job. I can't remember if it was at that time or a subsequent meeting, but somewhere along the way, I said, okay, what about these appraisal courses you want me to take? Did you still want me to take them? He said, yes. So I was sort of confused as to what was going on in his head. I didn't see, you know, if I was going to be in purchasing, what do I need with appraisal? Maybe he was just putting me there until Freeman left. I don't know, but, you know, he said, yes, take the appraisal courses. So that's why I went down that avenue.
And what I'm trying to get at this point, Mr. Thompson, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to clarify then, when was this conversation you had with Mr. Preston when you say you were assured that you would get the buyer's job? Was it in August 2008 when you applied for the assistant purchasing manager position?
Yeah. Okay. It was August, yeah.
And then around that same time, it sounds like you asked Mr. Preston again about the appraisal courses, and he said,
right. I didn't make a connection between purchasing and the assessor's office. So I needed some direction of which way should I go. He said, yeah, take the appraisal courses. So I was thinking, well, maybe he's going to promote me over or something.
Did you have any further conversations with Mr. Preston in or around August of 2008 concerning whether or not he was looking at you as a potential successor to the assessor position?
We did not have that particular conversation. Just from him bringing up the conversation or including in the conversation that Mr. Freeman was carrying, that I would be a good fit for the assessor's office. I just basically put 2 and 2 together and come up with, well, I'm going to be the next assessor, apparently.
So would it be fair to say that by August 2008, when you had this conversation with Mr. Preston, you believed you were going to be hired into a buyer position in the purchasing department?
Yeah.
Once it came on?
The assistant purchasing manager's job was something that I did on my own and just basically copied Joy, and it had nothing to do really with the conversation we had back in March. I just went to be assured that I had a spot with the county.
And let me just show you exhibit number 9 to help your frame of reference timeline. This appears to be an email, 2 emails, one from you to Joey Preston on August 8, 2008, and one from Mr. Preston back to you on the same day concerning courses. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
When did you become aware that Mr. Preston might be asserting a claim with respect to an anticipatory breach of contract against the county?
When I received a letter delivered to my residence from Hoskins, is his name Hoskins?
Rob Hoskins, right?
Yeah. When I received that letter,
do you remember if the letter was directed to you, or was it just directed generally to the Anderson County Council, or do you recall?
I think it's just the council.
Do you remember roughly when that was?
September.
Okay. September 2008?
Yeah.
What did you do when you learned of this potential claim?
I was livid, but I calmed down and called Joey and asked him to explain what's going on here.
And what did he tell you?
He explained that we were having meetings, and we had a particular meeting in the conference room. I can't remember if this was a workshop or it wouldn't be budget. I can't remember the subject, but I remember it happening in the conference room at the museum. And Bob Waltrip said that we were going to put Joey or the administrator on leave, and he was going to do that, and he was going to do, I mean, he had a whole list of things that he was going to do after the new council was seated. Joey conveyed to me that that was a breach of his contract, or an anticipatory breach of his contract, and that he felt like he didn't have any alternative to resolve that issue other than through a lawsuit.
Did you, at the time when you had this conversation with Mr. Preston, were you aware that he even had a written contract of employment?
Yes.
You were?
Yeah, I've read it.
Had you read it all before you had this conversation?
Oh, I read it early on when was one of the first things I asked for when I reported to council back in '05. Give me a copy of the administrator's contract.
And at the time you had this conversation with Mr. Preston, did you believe that Mr. Preston had breached his employment contract with the county in any way?
So are you saying Mr. Preston is the cause of the breach?
I'm just asking, were you aware of anything that caused you to believe that Mr. Preston had breached his contract with the county back in September 2008 when you had this conversation with him?
When I first read the letter, I took it as Joey Preston basically resigning from his position as administrator. That's why I got a little upset. But then I calmed down and called Mr. Preston and asked him to explain what's going on here. When he explained himself, then I was okay with everything. He did not resign. He was just basically protecting himself, and because he was a contract employee, and he was going to, and the people were scheming to oust him. That's just basically what was going on.
Now, you were familiar at the time with the makeup of county council because you were the chair, correct?
Okay, yes.
Because the claim that he presented, Mr. Preston presented to the county, was that he felt the county was anticipatorily breaching his contract, was going to get rid of it.
Yes.